All right, it is time for currently reading challenge. Not quite a TBR, but something kind of close. It's going to be what's left in the jars. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. In this video, I am going to reveal what is left in the jars. You can see some of them have more than others from my currently reading project. My currently reading project was my effort to reduce the number of titles on my currently reading, or at the very least, reduce the number of pages on my currently reading. I created a jar for fiction and a jar for nonfiction, and this fall I have been spending my time picking 5 titles a week and aiming to read 75 pages a day, 5 days out of the week, for a total of 375 pages a week, and I did it over 8 weeks. I had a dress rehearsal week, and then to test things out, and then 7 weeks of the challenge proper, and so the goal for all of that, if you do the math, is 3,000 pages was the goal to reduce my currently reading by that number. So we've come to the end of the challenge. I will do a reflection. I don't know if this will go up before or after that reflection, but recently Mel suggested to share what's left in the jars, and I thought that that would be a great idea, especially because I really do want to finish these titles eventually. There are some that I think I can finish by the end of this year, 2021, but I would like to finish all of them by the end of next year, 2022. Some of them are going to require some kind of strategy, and some will just require time. Well, both will require time, but some need a little help, a little support, something to help guide the way, and because they have either challenges with, like usually it's just they're really long or slow or both. So anyway, I will get to those when I get to those. But yeah, so I am going to share what's left in the jars. First off, I just want to mention what isn't going back in the jars because I'm filming in this after week 7 has happened. So there are 2 titles that I did finish in week 7 that aren't going in the jars. So that is Smoke Bitten by Patricia Briggs and If Only They Could Talk by James Herriott. So I have those tags here. So those are 0 pages left. And there are 3 titles that I worked on last week that aren't going back in the jars. Because I didn't finish them, but they're not going back because we're doing this video. So those 3 titles are, wow, that was not a good explanation. I guess I don't have a good explanation. So the 3 that I worked on last week but didn't finish include The Player's Guide to Dungeons and Dragons. I have 218 pages left of this one. This one will take a concerted effort. I did spend some time parsing it out, looking at the table of contents and looking at the different sections and noting. I created a thing on sheets in terms of how many pages were in each of the sections. There is a very, very large section for spells that's like 100 pages, and I have decided that I'm only going to read spells that it would make sense for my character to know about, so either ones that are specific to their class or maybe some low-level ones that other people in the party have, or I've seen the character, third person, first person, has seen in action. So that makes me very happy because I only read about 4 to 6 pages an hour. So it's a very slow read. So I was thrilled to see that huge spell section because as a player, I don't want to know about every spell in the game. I only want to know the ones that my character will either have access to, would have access to, or had seen. So that's going to be a strategy there. I'm also reading The Diary of Anaïs. I worked on that last week. I have 218 pages left, and I have made it halfway through the years. This is from 1931 to 1934. So I finished 1932. That was my goal for the week, and I finished it. So I have more than half of the pages left because it's 400 pages, but I only have 2 years left. It is broken down into years and then into months, so I think that I'll have to come up with some strategy with this one as well because it is a very slow read. I tend to read about 20 to 25 pages a week when I'm reading it, which is quite slow. So I haven't decided what approach to take. I don't know if I want to do like 1933 in the first half of next year and 1934 in the second half of next year. But I definitely I want to finish all of these by the end of 2022, all of them. So these 2 just happen to be really long, slow reads that will require strategy. Some of them, I think I mentioned that. I think I mentioned that some just need time, some need a strategy. This will need a strategy, so I'm not sure what strategy I'm going to go for. So I'm not sure about that. And then last week, I also worked on Njal's Saga, for which I have 107 pages. I do plan on finishing this right away. I'm just going to keep on reading it. It is an Icelandic saga from 1280. It's very dry, but I'm close to the end. I have 100 pages left out of 500, so we're getting there. Okay, so now on to the excitement. What is still left in the jars? I definitely have way more fiction than nonfiction. I can't tell if there's only 2 or 3. So anyway, let's pull several fiction, and then at some point I will choose to nonfiction. So let's see what's left. So some of these will have come up, but some of these I believe have never come up. So let's see I guess I don't have to do super suspense because we are going to be looking at all of them. Okay, so fiction title. Polar Vortex. Yes. I have 61 pages left. This one has come up. I am really enjoying this one. I just have the final, I think it's 4th and final section in this one. Yeah. And I am very curious as to how it's going to turn out. It is Canadian fiction. It is emotional. It is very beautifully written and written. I never say it that way. I would hope to finish this by the end of this year. I just need a week. So it goes on deck for this year, hopefully to finish. All right, Polar Vortex. Let's see what else is in here. Is it that? Let's go with this one. Oh, lots popped out. Edgar Allan Poe, The Ultimate Collection. So this one actually came up twice in the Fall Reading Challenge, and I did end up reading 13 stories from it, but I still have another 24 stories left, or 130 pages left. At some point, those stories are the poetry, and I have already read the poetry. It starts with The Raven. So once I get to page 303, I think it's going to be smooth sailing. All that being said, I think this one I'm going to belay until next year. It is heavier work, and I don't think for the rest of this year I'll have capacity to do that. I'm not too worried about finishing this one. I am more than halfway through. It is definitely one of the slower reads, and I definitely haven't enjoyed all of it, so that's been a bit of a challenge. So it probably will stay in the jar or till the next round of currently reading, which I probably will do at some point next year. I haven't totally figured out whether I want to do it the month focus or maybe pull one a month or something. I haven't exactly decided what I want to do, but I do want to finish it by the end of the next year. But I imagine I probably will finish it by next spring or sometime. So there we go. Are we doing predictions? It sounds like I'm doing predictions of when I think I'm going to finish this, or when my goal is to finish it. Let's see what's next. Station 11. So this one has not come up in either round at all. 277 pages by Emily St. John Mandel. This one I actually read. I started it on Scribd and then I unwrapped my physical copy. So I started this last summer. This one I didn't know the context of it. So reading it after the pandemic started was not great. I didn't know that there was a similar theme. I just heard, Shakespeare troupe and speculative fiction. I didn't know anything else about it. It is beautifully written, but I have a hard time with survivalist stuff, so I am very hesitant and worried when I read this. So everyone talks about how much they enjoy it, but I don't know. Moments of great tenderness. That's what someone blurbed on the back. Patrick DeWitt, author of The Sisters Brothers. That's a book I need to read. So this one I kind of wish it had come up because I don't come back to it because I'm hesitant. So that's why it would have been a great one for it to come up in the challenge, because I would have had to work through it. But I haven't because I haven't been reading it. But I know it's supposed to be such a good book. It's on lots of the lists that I'm working through. All right, more fiction. What else? My Soul to Keep. So this one I did read, I think in week 6 by Tanner of Dew. This is the first in the African Immortals series. It is very different than I expected. It is urban fantasy or horror, depending on where you want to go, or thriller. I don't know. It's very serious. It has fantastical or speculative fiction elements to it, but it feels very, very grounded in reality. I have read the first section. I still have 413 pages left. This is going to take some dedicated effort because it is 500 pages overall, and it's the characters are really complex, and I don't know if I would go to say I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it, but it's pretty, I don't know. I usually the urban fantasy type stuff I read is much more less grounded in the real world in terms of realities. So this is just I think a mental shift in terms of what it's focusing on. Is that what the right way to say it? I'm not sure. I am glad that when it came up, I did read a whole section and I was impressed by it. But sometimes it reminds me, and this is kind of a crummy thing to say, but it reminds me that sometimes I don't read like books that are like good. You know what I mean? Like the writing is really good. It's compelling. It's got great characters. I am curious about what's going on. The threat level for some things feel pretty high, but it's not, but it's so grounded in reality that it's a different kind of thing than when you're reading sort of something that's more of like an adventure and there's threat level, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like unnerving. So anyway, so I do, as with all of these, I hope to finish this by the end of next year. I probably will get to it in 2022. I don't know. I don't think I'll read more of it this year. I also started it because it's sort of like horror. I started it during the Creature Feature reading extravaganza. That's not what it was called. But again, I think I need to stay away from seasonal reading. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. So it doesn't mean I don't like the things you would read in seasonal reading. It's just trying to finish it by the end of the season doesn't work, and then I feel like I failed. All right, let's look at some nonfiction. I don't remember. Oh, there's only two. So let's do one nonfiction. I wondered if that was what was going to come up. So, Ghost Stories of Ontario. I have 109 pages left. So, talking about seasonal reading, this is the only one that I added to the challenge during the challenge. So, I started this in October, and I didn't finish it in October because who doesn't do well with seasonal reading? I don't. So this is by John Robert Colombo. It is a collection. It's a nonfiction work that's a collection of usually I feel it's mostly submissions from people who experienced ghost stories and they experienced paranormal events, ghostish. I don't know if they've all been ghostish, to be honest. And it's all that were set in Ontario, where the people were a part of Ontario. I live in Ontario. So yeah, so I started this and I didn't finish it. This also does come with the challenge that I have to read it during the day. I'm not going to read a nonfiction work about ghosts at night. I'm just not doing that. So that's one of the other reasons why I didn't finish it. Okay, more fiction. More fiction. Let's see what else we got here. The Born Identity. So this one's come up several times. I'm about halfway through. I have 300 pages left, and this is by Robert Ludlum. It is a thriller, action-y novel, and I read 300 pages during this challenge. No, that's not true. 240, because I was already 60 pages in. I would like to finish this year, to be honest. I don't want to carry this into next year. It's one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR. I love the book. I love the film. I don't love the book. I just want to be done, so it goes on the this year list. So yeah, Born Identity. And what's next? Let's go with this one. The other one that's split into volumes. Les Miserables. So, Les Miserables, I have 874 pages left. I have read the first section. I am partway through the second section, and I have the final 3 sections to read. This is translated from the French. So yeah, Les Mis, I want to finish by the end of next year. I will need a strategy to do so. I have 82 pages left of volume 2, so I would like to finish that this year, but I don't know, what my strategy is going to be for the rest of them. I have done all of the page counts, like I have done all of the volumes, because even within all of the books, there are books within the books. Wow, I've tabbed it all off already. that must have made it much easier for me to look at. And so, yeah, I'm not sure. This one is probably going to be the toughest because it's 872 pages left, and I read it really slowly. I also enjoy it. It's also one of the oldest on my Goodreads TBR. It has also been adapted many times, and so it's on a lot of my challenge lists. I added it day one. Day one, I added Les Mis. What was I thinking? It doesn't mean I have to read it. It's one of my challenges to read the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR, but that doesn't mean I have to read it. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. The writing is excellent, but it has had some long stances that I'm kind of like, I'm not sure what we're going for here. So anyway, so I hope to finish volume 2 or the second section by the end of the year, but I think that's actually quite optimistic, but we'll see what happens. Next up. Let's do this one. This is another new ad. Battle Royale. I have to update this. It says I have by Koshan Takami. This one I started during the summer. It's another one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR. I started it during the summer during the, I got it from the library because there's no ebook available. I had to return it. I prioritized other library reads instead. And so I returned it, and then I decided to buy it secondhand off of Amazon. And I ended up getting a really good, like the condition of this copy, you would never know it is secondhand. Oh, there is one tiny, I think there is. I can barely tell. I mean, like, I could have done that. No, it came with that. But anyway, so yeah, so this is translated from the Japanese. It was made into a movie. Do we see a theme for things that are the oldest on my Goodreads and TBR? Because I was very much into film when I started Goodreads. I was way more into film than I was into books, so that explains a lot. Anyway, but yeah, so I have since read a couple more pages from this, so I can actually update this. I think I have 500 pages left. And I did section it off in 2 parts. Again, with 500 pages left, it will need a strategy. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go to nonfiction. So this is actually the final nonfiction. I had less nonfiction than fiction, but I think I only have 4 left. And so the final one is, oh, of course, Outline Alphabets, 100 complete fonts. This one has been one of the ones that has been so much fun to work on. And I have done 15 out of the 100 alphabets, so I have 85 left. This is more of an activity than a reading. It will require a concerted effort next year to finish it off. So, all right, now on to fiction. So I have 85 alphabets left for that one. More fiction. We have... I have to go fast because my camera's running out. Oh, Blood Magic. I finished that. Go me. I finished that on an off week. Yeah, I read that on the sly. I forgot about that. Too funny. Next up. Slay. 184 pages left. This is by Brittany Morris. And it is a YA contemporary title about a virtual reality game. A virtual reality game, is that the right way to say it? I think it's like an MMO, but I think, yeah, there is virtual reality type elements to it. And it's a game that's specifically created by and for Black gamers. And then there is an event where something goes wrong. And so that's how everyone describes it. And I have read about half the book, and I'm finally at the point where that's sort of being dealt with. So I got a bit stagnated because I kind of felt like I thought this was going to be about this, and we're not there yet. So anyway, this one I might finish it by the end of the year. I definitely, at 184 pages left, that's not too much. But I find it is a bit harsh, so that's a bit challenging, but it also is quite good. So that is one of the other titles. That did not come up. That came up at the end of May. I did do an extra week, but I didn't film it, and it did come up then, so I have read some of it this year. Okay, 2 titles left. What will this one be? Yes, of course. Tess of the Dubervilles. This was in my first one in the week of May. I have 522 pages left. This is by Thomas Hardy. It is a classic. It is very dry. I don't really get much from it. It's on my those books list. It is one of the few ones I have considered DNFing. I don't know. I did time it out. I am planning on reading an additional 20 pages this year to finish the first part, but even the titles of the different parts, I'm like, I don't think this is a Shannon thing, so this one might get DNF'd, which would be unusual for me, but it might happen. So we have one title left, and I think it's the one I am most looking forward to at this point. And that is Swordborn, which never got picked. It never got picked. This is by Jennifer Robertson. This is the 5th book in the Tiger and Dell series, which is one of my favorite series, with the exception of the fact that it was 4 books, which I loved. Always was like, yes, this is one of my favorite series. Later on, there were more books. I was like, how did that happen? Like 10, 15 years later, something like that. So I started the series, I started the 5th book, which was like the first of the new books, which is this one, years ago, and I read it, but I never finished the rest of the series. So I've been slowly rereading the series. It is fantasy series, and with a dual male-female protagonist, although it's from the man's perspective, and I always forget that. It's from Tiger's perspective. And he is a bit of a jerk. So it's hard to explain. It's one of those, for me, it's a bit complicated, especially since I read it when I was a lot younger. So if I came to the series now, I don't know how I would feel about it, but I would still say, even though some of the things that it shows are tough and not things I would necessarily want to read now, I still say it is a very strong female perspective, and even I would go as far to say that it can be feminist. Is it feminist? That's a bit, okay, I would have to, there are moments where I'm like, yeah, that's feminism right there. But it's not, but it's in this, generally speaking, it's a fantasy series. Anyway, I love these characters. I really want to finish the series. I've been rereading it, I think, for maybe 2.5 years. I want to get to the newer books. I did hit a point when I was reading it, the new ones, that I got mad about something, and I think that's why I stopped reading. I don't remember if it was in this one or the next one. So anyway, but it must be this one, because I don't think I started the next one. Anyway, I plan on finishing this by the end of this year. I have 139 pages left, and I plan on finishing this series by the end of next year. Why does it take me so long to finish fantasy? Maybe because so many pages. Anyway, so I didn't do the math. I can't do the math. My phone is almost out of space, so I don't want a chance ending this being crunched at the end. But that is all the titles that are left. I am happy to say that this pile, I knew things were going well, because at some point I was able to bring all of these books out in one, okay, I can't do it now, but if I just bring the front end of Les Mis and Born Identity. So at some point I was able to bring all of the books to the table in one trip, as opposed to 2 trips. So I am really happy about that. We got to add a few more volumes here. We're more like this many pages. So that's the physical books that I have left. And then I have a whole bunch of digital books left. So that's not really a great representation. But I still think I can finish probably about, 3 or 4 this year. And then I probably will do another round of currently reading next spring at some point. No promises. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. But I have been really, really happy with how this has gone. And if I haven't mentioned already, I think I mentioned, but if I haven't mentioned already, thank you to Mel for recommending doing this video and being curious about what was left in the jars. I actually thought it was really fun and exciting to share what was left. And I forgot that Blood Magic was still in there, and now I can't find my end card, so we're going to have to be creative. Where did it go? Is it now a bookmark? I'm not sure. So anyway, and I didn't even count that. Well, unplanned. So obviously I did not plan very well. I am sorry about that. Wow. All right, we're just going to say that is at least part of my TBR for next year and this year. As I mentioned, I do hope to finish all of these titles by the end of 2022. Wish me luck on that. And let me know out of all of these, which would be the first one that you would sit down and read. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and thanks again to Mel for the suggestion. I really appreciated it. This was a lot of fun to do. This has been a fun and productive challenge. I am really happy with how things have gone, although now I have no idea what I'm reading. Some of these, I can read anything. Nothing new. Stick to the currently reading. Okay, thank you so much for watching. TBR.